Hello there, guys. Welcome back to another episode of E&Ftv. Today is a particularly special one as we've got a first for the channel, as we've got Ria Fox, who's the head of revenue at Cove UK. Ria's never been on the show before, and we're going to be learning all about her background. We're going to be talking about the sort of holiday rental business, because we've never actually touched on that on the channel either. And we're also going to be discussing how a revenue management function is built from scratch. So there's going to be a lot of content in this that's going to be very relevant for all you hoteliers and commercial sort of leaders out there. And of course, some mid-level professionals out there that are looking to learn more about this space. So Ria, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
This, of course, has stemmed from us having a chat about you appearing recently at our Mappy and did a
Yeah.
fantastic talk on all the things that have been achieved at Cove from a revenue management perspective. And I was really keen to get you on the show as a follow-up to that, really. So before we get into it, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone for tuning into this week's episode. Don't forget to press that subscribe button. We bring you content every single week with fantastic guests, just like Ria. And to do that, we need a growing and brilliant community around us. So don't forget, press the subscribe button. Let us know your let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And of course, press the like button on the video. So without further ado, Ria, what I'd love to do first off, just because we have a lot of people at the start of their careers, we have graduates, we have current studiers at university and things like this. They love hearing about how commercial leaders and leaders in our industry got to where they are. So I'd love to find out a bit about your background and what brought you to become the head of revenue at Cove UK. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to hand the mic over to you.
Okay, sure. So for me, it started in Belgium, really. So I had finished hotel school in the Netherlands,
Mm,
and then I did an internship of a year in Belgium,
yep.
and I started with Accor, really. So I stayed there for a few years, did front office, reservation manager, and then they were going to sell the hotel. So I thought, no, I want to stay with Accor. I've had a few years length of service. So then I decided, oh, I'm going to go to the UK for 1 year. So
Sure.
25 years later, I'm still here. So that was a long year. Obviously, I enjoyed it. So I went to London, actually, and worked a few years in front office again, rooms
Mm,
division manager. And then I kind of stumbled into revenue management.
yeah.
So we had a great revenue manager at the time, but he went to work for head office. And he's like, kind of, are you interested? I was like, well, yeah, sure. Not knowing really what it was. And thinking
Sure.
back now, how basic it was, really still looking
Right.
back at what we're doing now. But yeah, it was to do with the pricing, minimum length of stay. There's a lot of events in London, so that kind of, you had a lot to play with as well.
Yeah.
So I did that for a few years. And then I introduced the first revenue management system.
Yes.
So that was like, oh, what is this? This is brilliant. So yeah, implemented that one. So I stayed with that call for a few more years, and then I kind of went to the independent hotels and worked for them for a few years, but then went back to Accor.
Hmm.
And the last hotel experience really I have is for working for a small group of hotels that were with Accor, but then
Yeah.
debranded and wanted to become independent. And with that, a big project kind of came my way. So it was, we had to change all of our systems, but that was through the whole group. So it wasn't just revenue management or anything. So I had to source a new PMS and revenue management system, CRM, and marketing was doing their bit. So I think that's the first time really that I thought, in my career, I've always had in a new role, you get your laptop, you do you learn your systems, how they work from the front end, but you don't actually realize how it's set up and how the back end works.
Yeah.
So doing that role, that's really kind of been eye-opening.
Yeah.
So I think that's when I realized we've done a lot of things because we know the system can do it, but we've not really thought, oh, actually, it can do a lot more than that. So maybe then also thinking a bit more critically, like, oh, we could do things differently. So
Mm,
that was a massive project, really. And I had then the PMS, but that impacted not just my own function, really. It was the whole
yeah.
hotel. So everybody had to have the system working properly. That was a big challenge. And
I
then
imagine.
3 years ago, I then moved to Cove. So
Yes.
literally doing exactly the same as I did for the previous hotel, like the project with the systems and everything, doing that for Cove as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I've been the last 3 years.
I was going to say, and what a journey you've been on, which of course we'll touch on to in a moment. But just before we
Yeah.
do that, for anyone that doesn't know, so anyone that isn't in the sort of holiday rental space or anything like that, the staycation space, what is Cove UK?
So Cove UK is a group of holiday parks.
Hmm.
So started quite small, but then quickly expanded. So it's about 12 parks. The locations are from Scotland to Cornwall.
Yeah,
So we provide self-catering accommodation. We've got touring as well, so for like tents and camper vans. Um, the size, actually, Cove is it's got a very big variety in the park. So we've got like
mm,
very small parks for a few units up to Seal Bay, which is our largest one. It's over
yeah,
500 units. So it really was, I soon quickly noticed it's not a one size fits all approach.
sure,
Because some of them are family holiday parks, so really with entertainment activities and that kind of thing, whereas the ones in Scotland are more the scenic, like, for nature
yeah.
and walks and that kind of thing. So it's a big variety. And like I said, commercially, it was very interesting to kind of get that up and running.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to be sort of diving into this now. So, so for anyone that doesn't know, right? So, at this point, Cove did not have a revenue management function, right? So, you
No,
came
no.
in and you built it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and of course, sort of, we're almost responsible for putting you in there. And I
You were.
almost, it was one of those where I was sort of teetering on the just from everything you said at the Armapi event of how much work and the challenge, but also the excitement around it. I was almost going to say sorry. Um, but what's come of it is truly fantastic. And there were at the Armapi event, only just a few weeks ago, the room was the response was clear that everybody felt it was an impressive journey. You'd clearly done some groundbreaking stuff within the group and
Mm.
things that had never, of course, been done before. So building a commercial function from scratch has got to be, of course, an incredibly exciting process. But like
Definitely.
anything like this, it comes with its learnings, it comes with its challenges. What would you say the key challenges were that you faced, and how did you navigate? How did you overcome these? Because it was a huge amount of work. It was a huge amount of work.
It definitely was, and especially after the Armapi event, I kind of thought the whole 3 years was put into half an hour, and actually there
Yeah,
was so much that was still not in there.
sure.
I'm glad you asked about the key challenges because, like I said, there were many. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think the first one that I kind of encountered was, especially the first week, really, was how revenue management was quite operational still. So
sure.
it kind of reminded me of my first role where I said I stumbled into revenue management in
Yeah,
London, where it was very manual, it's Excel spreadsheets, and it kind of felt like I traveled 20 years back in time.
sure.
Um, so I think if you look at pricing decisions, they were more done based on teams' experience and
Hmm.
their instincts rather than
Gut
data driven.
feel. Gut
Yes, the gut
feel.
feel, that was
Classic.
definitely there. It's the word I've heard the most in the first month. I was like, God, my God says this. And to be fair, like for example, my a colleague she was managing like the park teams, and if
Mm,
she was saying, "I expect so many bookings because our Easter did this or our summer's going to do," she was generally right. So,
sure,
the gut feel was there, but it was never based on numbers or any figures
sure.
or anything like that. So, I had a team of two revenue analysts. One was purely holiday park experience, and the other one had hotel experience. So both of their experience was also very different and limited as well when it comes to revenue management.
Yeah.
So that was another part of the challenge. But one thing that was really alien to me, I understand it now,
Mm,
is that a third party was actually doing our pricing for us. So it wasn't,
right.
we didn't own our own pricing. It makes sense because holiday parks mainly are run by families. They don't
Mm,
necessarily have the commercial skills. So they kind of asked this partner to do it for them. So Cove was there, and it was because Cove was small, but they expanded quite quickly, therefore needing somebody like myself.
yeah.
So I think that's the part where there's a lot of manual work. Distribution wasn't really done properly yet. So the experience in at Cove was, like I said, it was based on just what they've been doing the last few years, and it's worked obviously as well.
Mm,
Um, I think, and then we come to the part of technology. So that was another big hurdle, and that's what I was looking forward to as well, because I knew I'd done it before, the previous role. I knew what we were going to do, but then obviously my holiday park experience was quite limited. I knew how to make a booking, but other than that, I didn't really know too much. So, and like I said earlier, so Cove expanded quickly. So we had about, I think, 4 to 5 PMS systems, all different functions. Data collection was different, and trying to make that work and kind of say, okay, this one says this, but that one says that, and getting a pickup report even was, just a basic one was really quite hard. And then I think that's, like I said, that's what I was looking forward to, and it was quite logic. You knew what next steps were going to be, and that was my remit, obviously helping putting the system in place, getting a new PMS. I knew there was going to be a revenue management system at one point, so how that was going to slot in, that part that was fine. It's a lot of hard work because obviously the parks had to come online one by one, and so we had a great team in IT as well, and product team to help us with that. But I think the biggest hurdle was the changing of mindset. So
I can imagine.
The head of commercial and myself, we kind of started at the same time, and I reported into her, to Laura. But we were both walking into this first leadership meeting. The leadership team were there, and these people, they had 10, 20, 30 years experience in holiday parks. They know their business, they know it inside out, and successfully grown the business as well.
Yeah.
And then I was there with no experience really, and I was going to say, right, we're going to do things differently. Not that approach, obviously, but
sure.
So I think that was a little bit intimidating at first, because I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? But I think one thing that was kind of on my side was the fact that we were getting new systems. And like I said, I knew how it had to be set up. So therefore, I kind of had to, there was no gradual approach. It was like, right, we need to do this. So one of the things, the first one I tackled was the pricing. So other than the fact it was done by a third party, we were still working on brochure rates. So I've seen a brochure. Yes. There was a brochure still that I could look through, and that's how it still worked, which I was like, okay, so we need to change this. We need dynamic pricing. And for us, if you've been working with it before, you know what it is. It's quite logic. So I thought I was explaining it quite clearly, but for me, it made sense. Yeah. But for a team who's been working in a very different way and didn't quite understand it at first, I think that meeting I'll never forget, because I just felt the room go quiet and everybody's just kind of looking at me like, we don't know what she's on about. And I had this very simple chart on the screen, but it didn't help anything.
Yeah.
And I think eventually then the way I kind of went about it was how it would change for other departments. So marketing at the time was very reactive.
Right.
It was literally from one week to another, like, what's the price and what we're going to do. But that had to be a lot more proactive. And based on dynamic pricing and our budget and the strategy that I had to put in place as well, we knew we need certain campaigns and how the year was going to look like. So I kind of started explaining to the marketing, the head of marketing, like, this is how it would impact you and your team. It took a little while, but actually at one point, he was the one that had the first light bulb that he's like, I get it now. I get it. I know what's happening. I know. And then because he started thinking out loud and he was speaking more the holiday park language, I think, you could see from other people, they started thinking, that's what that is. Sure. So they then said, okay, let's try it. So obviously getting things in place quickly. But I think anything that followed after that, some of the things was data driven. So we did have the right data so we can show them why and how it was going to improve the business. But I think it was all about building trust as well. Like, I think one of the comments I did have very much in the beginning is like, revenue management, they just change some pricing sometimes, don't they? Just go on a website and change it. And it's like, there's a little bit more to that. And afterwards, I did have a correction on that statement. He did realize that, no, you do actually do a bit more. But it's kind of also proving what you do know. And if you don't have the experience in holiday parks, you kind of have to show that the principles don't change, but they apply differently. So you could then also see that how the whole business was changing. So Cove's vision was to bring the whole business up to date, but the commercial function as well, and obviously bringing out the outside experience. So that's kind of what I then had to bring. So they were open to it as well. It's just, if things have been working great for so many years, then why change it, really?
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's been the biggest hurdle, really. So I think systems in the end, they can help, but
Yeah.
it's the cultural change that needs to be there for real improvements, really. So
Do, if you were going, because I know, our audience is mainly within the commercial space. The thought of creating something from scratch, like you have,
mm.
to a lot of people will feel really exciting. To some, it will be daunting and too much of a
Yeah,
headache.
yeah,
I know,
it's not both.
absolutely. But there will be some people out there that will think, wow, what an amazing opportunity.
Mm.
If you were going to give, if you were going to give someone that's watching this now, and again, we haven't discussed this previously, but if you were going to give them, let's say, a checklist of 5 things to cover when tackling something like this, like you said, things like trust and structure and communication and this sort of thing, what would your 5 key elements be for someone that is going to either be embarking on this or is actively looking for an opportunity like this? Where would they start if they were going to tackle this from the
I
lessons that
think
you've learned,
for
I suppose?
initially I would have said, oh, the systems, because that's the easy part, really. But actually, it's where you said just now, the trust. It's you need to have to start with the strategy, really. And I think when the head of commercial and myself, we sat down, we're like, oh, how are we going to do this? Because
Mm,
initially you just feel the resistance to, like, you're walking around and like people go, oh, what they doing. I think you
yeah,
need to have a plan, really. So that's the part I like, the logical side of it. So how to
yeah,
plan things, but you need to have the time as well. But obviously, people are going to ask you, what are you doing? And I think what we had to say to the business really was, give me a month. I'm going
yeah,
to just plan things out. And that was the biggest part of the plan. Because in the end, after 3 years, I'm still sticking to that plan
yeah,
that we
yeah,
put in place. So it's literally like, I had a 90-day plan at first, like, what are the biggest problems now? What needs to be changed immediately? Then it was a longer term plan as well. And I
mm,
think it's putting that into place in the first month, and then you can start saying, okay, now we're first going to tackle this because that's going to have the biggest impact. And
yeah,
it was a logical step, really. So, like I said, the systems coming into place, the new PMS was
mm,
perfect because that helped me push through the dynamic pricing
yeah,
side of things and other things like packages but it's the buy-in, it's the trust. They need to understand first that you know what you're talking about. And I think for me, what I had to learn was have confidence in what I do know. Just
yeah,
because I don't know holiday parks, I do, like I said, the principles don't change. So I do know what I'm talking about in that sense,
yeah,
but it's just
yeah,
convincing people in a different way. So I think it was the trust first, and then kind of show them the plan.
yeah,
And also, you know what you're doing. So you know, if I'm going to introduce advanced purchase, for example, how's that going to affect the finance team? So
yeah,
that's going to impact the cash flow, for example. So it's showing them that, because then they realize you've thought it through as well.
yeah, for
And I
sure.
think it's taking the time for that, because it's very easy in that situation. I could have just gone, right, let's just run. What's the first thing to do? And we'll do that and then tackle that and tackle that. But actually, it wasn't necessarily the biggest fires that needed to be
Yeah,
done first. So I think
I think,
it's just a plan.
and we've heard this time and time again with regards to where revenue now sits within the business, and it's so central now
Yeah.
that if you don't have those effective communication skills and being able to get that buy-in from the other stakeholders,
Yeah.
you could have the best. I mean, I've said this a million times on this channel over the years, but you could have the best strategy in the whole world, but if you can't communicate it effectively, it'll never get off the ground. I think another thing that was really great to hear from the presentation that you did was your head of commercial was very much on board with you and where you were looking to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
How was that having someone in that sort of position very much behind you and supportive, but also able to help you, well, I suppose empower you to have your own voice? Because I can imagine stepping into an environment that, as you said, the practice of revenue management inside out, but it was the
Yeah.
industry that you're stepping into brand new, and to have that opportunity to have that voice to say, no, this is what we need to do. Was that something that fundamentally helped you move forward with that confidence? Or did you already inherently have that and that was just a bonus?
No, no, no. So the head of commercials, Laura, she was fantastic. So what she
Mm,
kind of did was keep everybody at bay. So certain things were just going to take longer. So I mean, not everything you implement has a result the next day, does it
of
really?
course.
So And some of the things just take so long because I wanted to do the pricing, but then the grading was all over the place. So the grading is kind of like the room types in hotels. So one lodge in one park is the same at another one, but because the naming was different, you then didn't know actually that's comparable. So all the work behind that just took so long.
Yeah.
So Laura was literally incredible, just keeping everybody saying, look, you got to trust us. This is what we're doing. So she had to like drip feed of what was happening, but not really giving the whole plan away yet, because that's what I was working on. And then I think I would have struggled more if she hadn't been there, if she hadn't done that, because I had, like I said, kind of, I didn't necessarily have the confidence straight away, like I'm going to be able to convince people of the right thing. But so as a team, that worked really well. So she was part of the leadership team as well. And so that really helped. And I just remember her standing like this big border, a big wall between myself and the team, till I was ready to say, right, now we can share. And because then I felt, right, okay, I've done an analysis, the reviews, anything I had to do, it works, and now we're going to share it. If I'd done it earlier, because I felt pressurized to do it, to share already, it wouldn't have come across right.
Yeah, for sure. And sort of we touched on this, but your background, of course, is coming from hotels, right? So the majority of your career has been spent within hotels. What makes your current role and environment different? And I suppose, what are the fundamental practices that you've picked up and sort of brought into this new role? Because again, I'm a strong believer. I mean, as you already know, I deal with hotels, cruise lines, airlines, car parking, car rental, holiday rental. The fundamentals of revenue management, I believe, are very similar, if not almost identical. It's just the product that changes. What have you seen that's different in your role now compared to your past roles? And what have you brought forward in terms of those practices that you've had previously?
Oh, it's so different, really. In the end, you manage supply and demand. That's the same thing. And again, like you said, principles, they are the same. They just work differently in all of the sectors. And I think if I hadn't gone to a holiday park and I would have gone to another hotel, I would have gone, oh, I know what I'm doing the first day. I'm going to look for X, Y, Z. Where's the opportunity, and then you kind of know what the rest of your 2 years is. It's simplifying it a bit, but I think with holiday parks, especially, like I said, a lot of them still, not a lot of them, there's quite a few still that have revenue management at a basic level. So the opportunity in general there is brilliant. But holiday parks, they just behave different than hotels. So for example, you look at the booking pattern. People book much longer in advance. And one of the things was, in a hotel, you kind of know you do not 365 days, what was it now, 450, or you've got so many days you already have in advance. But in a holiday park, it was literally, I think it was July, oh, let's now start selling for 2027. And I was like, no, we should already be selling that. So it's introducing that as well. So that's kind of something I brought over from the hotel side. And then especially seeing that the booking patterns, they are different, they are much longer. So then it makes sense to have it open earlier. Another thing that's very different is the arrival day. So on a holiday park, it's Monday and Friday. Hotel is every day. So it's actually more fun in a way to say the length of stay, to play with that. Whereas I remember in London, like, I was getting quite excited if you had a minimum 3-night stay, because you didn't really have that a lot. But here it's 3 nights, 4 nights, 7, 14. So the arrival days are very different. You look at, like, at a hotel, you can arrive and pay on the day still at the hotel. But here in a holiday park, you pay full balance 6 to 8 weeks in advance. So therefore your cancellation is very different to how it is in a hotel. You can get quite a lot still on the day. But so I think what we brought was the commercial discipline, so structure. I think that's from the basic, that's where it is. So revenue meetings now is very structured, it's every week. I think the first one, I explained it in our MAPI talk, it was chaos. I did not know how. I mean, they got the job done, it was brilliant, but how, I didn't understand, because everybody just had an input, like 20, 30 people. But now it's just far more structured, and you go through like the results and the forecast and that kind of thing, which before that was not really done. Like I said, forecasting, I do that myself. So previously the finance team was doing that. So now they have an up-to-date, every month they will get their forecast as well.
Mm.
And I think, so what else did we do? Obviously, the dynamic pricing,
Yeah.
advanced purchase was another big thing. That was for myself a risk. I was like, oh, am I going to have the confidence to actually do this? Because people book on booking.com, they see the
Sure.
advanced purchase there for book a hotel. Why not a holiday park? And
It's
I
true.
remember somebody challenged me on that, like, nah, that's never going to work. And actually, I think the finance team are quite pleased with the results of
I
it so
imagine
far.
they are, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no. So that was, but also it's not just the finance team being happy, but it's the reservations team. They have to sell it to people as well. But they had to be confident. It's not the guest that was questioning. It was actually the
Mm.
reservations team had to know that no, we can ask for full payment upfront. It is normal.
Yeah.
It's that's okay to do. And I think then, so one of I saw recently was a TV ad for any day arrival from another holiday park operator. And
Okay.
my hotel revenue manager side says, why? Why is that big? But now I understand all the work that would have gone into it. Because like I said, arrival days, Monday, Friday. So the cleaning team on park is Mondays and Fridays.
Yes.
So I can think, oh, I'm just going to implement that, see how that works. The guests will like it. But actually, it's the park team that also had to be ready for that and actually
Yeah.
understand there's a reason why we're doing it. There is a demand for that.
Yes.
So then I realized, oh, they've put in place. We've been working on it, but yeah, that's a big thing as well. So it's certain elements from the hotel side you kind of bring over, like the pricing side of things, but
Yeah.
you just adapt it to how it works, because you can't just replicate what's in a hotel, because that's not going to work.
No, absolutely. And I think, as you said, if you just stepped into another hotel business, it's yeah, fine. You
Yeah,
know it inside out. You know what you're doing. There's nothing new there. But of course, there'll be new things regards to the environment, but that's
yeah,
about it. Whereas I think, as a set, sort of almost going back to my original question, was anyone that looks at this, they will see the exciting elements of it. But I know, and again, you clearly know the challenges that you've faced, but what a result that has been created from you stepping into that business. You've transformed the way Cove approach their commercial focus,
mm.
and the enhancements and the developments. It's transformed it. It's complete. It's unrecognizable from what it was before
It's
you
a different
joined.
business now. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. Yeah,
it's very it's well, I'd say it's very rare. It's rarer to have an opportunity where you can see the quantifiable evidence of your work within a matter of just a few years. And that is very, very clear to see from our conversation today,
yeah.
from the presentation that you did at our Mappy. It's it's impressive to say the least. Um, if I so we've looked at obviously certain things that you've done within the business. We've looked at where the business is now compared to where it was. I suppose now this brings me on really nicely and quite beautifully, in fact, to my final question, which is, of course, what does the future hold? So we've talked about what we've done. We've talked about where we're at now. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for the commercial team or the revenue management team specifically? What's happening?
Well, so I kind of spoke to my head of commercial recently, because she promised me by the end of 2025 you'll have your feet on the table, because we were literally smashing through all the to-dos.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened, and I don't think that's going to happen for a while. Obviously, I wouldn't want it to, but we still have a few things that has been on that 3-year plan of what needs to change. But I think customers behave differently now as well, and technology's developed. I'm not even going to talk about AI right now, but I mean, there's so many things that are different, that some of the things that I've got on my list still to do, I'm like, is that still relevant? Will that
Sure.
still work? But one of the things is still any day arrival. I would like it to be fully in place,
Yeah.
because we kind of trialed it during off peaks, but there's still certain things that we want to do on that. We've got a revenue management system in place, and that's kind of still learning. So I'd love to
Yeah.
see that at one point starts taking over a bit more, and it's not necessarily myself doing as much on the pricing side, but it's really making
Sure.
from the overall picture to see how the business is working. Um, and it's like you said, the business has changed, so it's now
Mm.
also kind of in the marketing side how that has changed, and I'm kind of like we're working in a much different way together now as we did 3 years ago. So
Yeah.
it's also quite exciting to see how that is going. So
Yeah.
it's kind of finalizing, putting the final tweaks on the things that we've put in place. The foundations are there. I mean, it's great to say now, like if somebody's asking me a question, I can go, the historical data is accurate. Oh gosh, like this is right and it matches. And I mean that's kind of only in this year you can really see all the fruits really of what's happened. So
Yeah.
I think it's refining the final things really, and then kind of have a year where it's just all in play. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm kind of excited for. There's still a few things that we want to do, but like I said, it's more from the tech side of things, making sure that works properly, getting
Yeah.
the any day arrivals. I think that's quite key for now, and then see what's next.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, Ria, I want to say a massive thank you to you for taking some time out of your incredibly busy schedule to join me. It's been, as I said at the start of this, it's been a really interesting episode to hear the creation of a department or sort of or watching it from where it was to where it is now, and your journey, the development that you've sort of had personally, I suppose, from this.
Oh,
Um,
100%. Yeah.
and seeing where the business was and where it is now, and of course, as you say, where it's heading next. What I'd love to do is get you back on, some point next year, have a catch up, see where things are at. Because I imagine there's still, well, you sort of indicated it, but there's still loads more to do, loads more development still to happen, and that's
Yeah.
exciting in itself. So, again, thank you so much for taking the time out. It's been an absolute pleasure to finally get you on the show.
Oh, thank you very, very much. I enjoyed it.
No, great. Well, guys, we hope that you enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. As I said at the start, we're bringing you content every single week with fantastic guests just like Ria. So please do click the subscribe button, join the community. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below on this episode today. And don't forget to click that like button. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.